This podcast is brought to you by the Heldridge Hotel, New Brunswick's only 4-star hotel and a preferred hotel of Rutgers football fans. The Heldridge helps you make the most of your game day weekend, providing premium accommodations in the cultural heart of downtown New Brunswick. Restaurants, bars, theaters, parks, museums, and more are only steps away. Whether you're traveling alone or with a large group, book your stay at the Heldridge and make the most of your game day weekend. Visit theheldridge.com today.
Hey, it's Bill Simmons from the Bill Simmons Podcast here to tell you about Michelob Ultra Courtside. It's getting fans closer to the NBA with a chance to win prizes like courtside seats, a trip to All-Star Weekend, and much more. Check it out at MichelobUltra.com/courtside. Michelob Ultra Superior Access, Courtside 24-25 sweepstakes, no purchase necessary. Open to U.S. residents 21 and up. Begins on October 1st, 2024, ends July 1st, 2025. Multiple entry periods. Visit MichelobUltra.com/courtside for free entry deadlines, and official rules. Message and data rates may apply. Void where prohibited.
From NJ.com and the Star Ledger, welcome to the Rutgers Rant, your one-stop podcast for the Scarlet Knights, with your hosts Steve Politti and Rutgers insiders Brian Fonseca and Pat Lenny. Let's start chopping.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Rutgers Rant, our bowl preview episode. That doesn't seem like enough. This is the Heldridge Rate Bowl preview episode. That's not even enough. Welcome to the Heldridge Rate Bowl preview episode. How's that? Better?
That was really good. Yeah.
The Rate Bowl preview, sponsored by the Heldridge Hotel and Casino. Better? I had a casino.
Undoubtedly.
Okay.
Undoubtedly. If they open a casino at the Heldridge, I will never move out of my apartment. Undoubtedly, the greatest, most informative Rate Bowl preview in the history of the Rutgers Rant.
No one's going to do a better Rate Bowl preview than this, I dare say. And I say that hoping you guys have, I don't know, some information about the Rate Bowl, because if not, it's really going to not live up to that expectation. But I'm confident in the two of you. We're going to kill this Rate Bowl preview. We are going to preview the Rate Bowl like it's never been previewed before. But before we do that, we've got news, right? We should start with some news. Two very significant players in the transfer portal, a receiver and a cornerback. I don't think we identified receiver as a position of need, but when you think about it, when you drill into it, I can certainly see why they wanted to add DT Sheffield, North Texas receiver. And certainly, Pat, we've talked about this. We know they needed the cornerback, Jacoby Hollywood Henderson. Woo! Love it. Love the name. Tell me about those two guys.
Yeah, well, DT Sheffield out of North Texas was a big Rutgers, I think, very high on him. And you could see that he had some legitimate action in the portal. He visited Arkansas. He had an offer from University of Washington. So he's a very productive veteran receiver with some good speed. 11 touchdown catches last season in North Texas, like 750 yards. He's been a good player. And the idea for Rutgers in bringing him in is that they have this great nucleus of young players, right? Ian Strong, KJ Duff, Ben Black, some other guys that you know may have breakout seasons like Fama Torre's possibility, but they need that veteran guy. And the interesting thing to me is that this is the 6th wide receiver that Greg Schiano has brought in the transfer portal since he's come back in 2020. So it's they've continually tapped the portal at this position, bringing in veteran guys that have and have not worked out, right? Jaquay Jackson 2 years ago, very good player, very productive. This year, Dymere Miller out of Monmouth, great player, hugely productive, very impactful. And then, there was also Nassim Brantley that they plucked from, right, who never got on the field. Joshua Youngblood was another name. And then a guy who actually reminds me, right, if you're looking for a comparison of what DT Sheffield kind of looks like, remember Aaron Cruikshank, Wisconsin's speedy guy and a return man. That's the mold that Rutgers thinks they have with Sheffield, a guy that has speed and can return the ball on punts and kicks too.
They would be killed to have a Cruikshank. I mean,
no question.
Be a home run.
Yeah, absolutely.
A couple things. People are going to be confused about this kid's name for a long time. Can't tell you how many times people have said a wide receiver named DT. It'll take a while for them to figure that out. Two, Rutgers' trend of getting guys in the portal has improved every year. Jaquay Jackson was a D2 guy. Dymere Miller was an FCS guy. DT Sheffield is a G5 guy. Next year, they will get a Power 5 wide receiver out of the portal. Book it. If there are odds out there, bet the house.
And then it's someone from the NFL. They're going to get Devontae
College
Adams.
sports is going.
Right.
Now
A retread.
this is he's going to be a slot guy. He's played a majority of his snaps in the slot. That's where Dymere Miller played. It's a completely natural transition and like just kind of a plug and play kind of transfer. And this, again, to Pat's point, allows a lot of the younger guys as well to and develop and grow. Like Ian Strong is going to have a big role next year. KJ Duff, Ben Black is a versatile guy who could play in the slot, can play on the outside. So I think this is a really strong addition. And I mean, you lose Chris Long as well, so you probably needed another body in the room anyway. So I think, wide receiver is much like the running back position where you feel good about the young depth, but you're losing your stud veteran, and now you're adding in a really quality guy from a lower level who you think could move up, add a skill set that they probably didn't have. This guy seems a little faster than Dymere Miller, more of a kind of like a in space kind of guy. A lot of his yards are after the catch. I actually have the number. I actually studied before this podcast. 559 of his 816 yards were after the catch at 68.5%. Right. So this is a guy who can get into space and can create yardage. So I think, a great get for Rutgers.
So not a slot guy then. Doesn't
yes,
sound
a slot
like
guy.
He is a slot guy. He is a slot guy.
Purely a slot guy. Yes.
Okay. All right. Interesting. And the yards after the catch is a good sign for that. Absolutely. Okay. Hollywood Henderson. What do we know other than the fact he better be a Cowboys fan with that name?
He's a guy that has multiple years of eligibility. I believe he has 2 more years of eligibility. Okay. So it's a bit of much like Eric Rogers, right? Like a guy who came in, played a little bit as a junior, and then senior year he started and played. But I think he probably has a chance of, becoming the starter given how many guys they are losing at cornerback between Longerbeam and Eric Rogers. A name that was told us that is kind of a comparison is Christian Braswell, kind of a shorter cornerback, but kind of disruptive and plays in the NFL, right? So I think if, to your earlier point, Steve, if they can sign up for Christian Braswell, I think they certainly would.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's fascinating. And tell me if I'm wrong with this analysis that I just came up with off the top of my head. It seems like at least in the Rutgers universe, the portal makes kind of some sense. Like in the rest of the world, like the fact that everybody on Southern Cal is going to transfer out there, all their receivers are gone. Like this, well, that's crazy. The backup quarterback at Penn State before they're in the playoff is going to transfer out. Well, that's nuts. Like there's so many things you said that's nuts. Here's an example. Okay, here's like a Chris Long guy's not going to really play here, has some injury problems, probably needs a fresh start. It's going to go to Syracuse. Makes sense. Then they need a guy. Oh, here's a guy in North Texas who can take a step up in competition, test himself at this level, in final year of eligibility. Makes sense. Like it just seems like, at least in the Rutgers universe, what I'm seeing from the portal isn't just the absolute insanity that you get across college football.
There's so much stability, and that's more of just the insurance policy that Greg Schiano is for this program, right? His whole policy and philosophy on the transfer portal recruiting has always been the same. He's always said the same things. We're not taking guys, and we're not losing guys because of right? Like they have the right relationships, and they're bringing in guys that fit needs and are right character fits first and foremost. And I think like that kind of is lost in this era of college football where, right, it's about lucrative paydays or seeking this opportunity or whatever. So I think Rutgers has done a really good job of retention based on relationships and also just finding the right fits that fit the culture of the program. I know that's a little bit of a cliche, but it does seem to be the case.
I think you're totally right. I can't remember who said this, but I thought it was such a great point. Guys who sign up to play for Greg Schiano know what they're signing up for, the dedication to football, the increased emphasis on practice and all these things. Like, so they're not surprised by it. They're not getting to their sophomore year and thinking, oh, I'm not playing, I'm going to get out of here, right? I think everyone that signs up for this program understands, oh, look at what is that? Your dog's in the frame, Steve? Feels like
not as cute as Pat's baby, but yes, that's Otis.
That's Otis.
What a cutie.
Oh, this is what Otis does during the day. My son leaves all of just plates full of food in his room. So he'll hang out with me. And then when he knows I'm not paying attention, go downstairs and just like dumpster dives in my son's bedroom. Anyway, I'm sorry. Didn't mean to interrupt. Go on.
All good. That's a smart guy. My point is guys, Rutgers is a developmental program. The key element to that is keeping guys that you develop. They've done a really, really good job of doing that and creating foundations of these guys that stay here for 3 to 4 years. And then when guys graduate or you have the occasional transfer, you go to the portal and fill that hole with the guy. And look, I think it's clear that from this early portal haul, they're not grabbing guys from the Power 5. They're not grabbing these guys that are leaving their Power 4 school, maybe for a payday or whatever. They're grabbing guys in the lower level who want to take a step up, who are, I don't want to say grateful for the opportunity because that's a bit, I don't like that phrase, but they want to take the challenge, move up a level. They want to prove themselves, and they see a lot of playing time there. They're there more for the playing time and the NFL exposure more than they are the payday. That's just not the program Rutgers is right now. They're not Oregon. So what you don't get in talent, you get in buy-in and you get in fit.
Yeah. And think about where this program has come, where they can say that it's a developmental program again for wide receivers. These guys, they've done a nice job at that position. The fact that Dymere Miller was raved about his time here and hosted DT Sheffield and became one of the guys who, nudged him over the finish line. I think that speaks to, what this program has become again under Greg Shannon, but also B, offensively, that's another part of this too. I'm like, can you imagine a wide receiver wanting to come here willingly a few years ago? I mean, you're kidding me. The offense was just a complete disaster. So that's a good sign. Yeah.
I think the priority here this offseason, they already re-upped Kirk Straka. That was approved by the Board of Governors yesterday. So he's here for another year, I believe. Haven't gotten a hand on my contract, but that's kind of my interpretation from the Board of Governors meeting. So he'll be here through 2027. The next priority has to be extending Dave Brock, whose first contract expires in February. I imagine they're working on a renewal as we speak. And John Perry. Those two guys have completely revitalized this wide receiver room, both in recruiting and development. You need to keep those guys. They're NFL wide receiver coaches, and the work that they've done here is clear proof of that. So I don't think, aside from Pat Flaherty, I don't think anybody has turned around a position group on this roster better than those two guys.
Totally agree. All right, shall we dive into the Rate Bowl preview brought to you by the Heldridge? Let's talk some Rate Bowl. Come on.
Yeah.
And it's fun because it seems like we've got some, I don't know, am I wrong that we've got some three-dimensional chess going on down there with Kyle Monungai? Like, I might play, I might not play. What are we deciding here? Either you're going to play or you're not going to play. Is it gamesmanship, or is the kid really undecided? I can't, because he seems like a straight shooter, but I could see a scenario. I wouldn't put it past Greg Schiano to say to him, hey, there's no reason you have to announce what's going on here. Like, I could see that.
Yeah, I tend to think it's a little 3D chess and gamesmanship, right? Like we're 8 days away from the game, right? Like what decision could possibly come in, right? Like what would change philosophically for Kyle Monungai, right? The injury risk is there. If that's what you don't want to face, then so be it, But so I think the discussions that are going on behind the scenes involve exactly what you're talking about, just the availability and the gamesmanship and the games that Schiano has played all year long publicly. And so I think it's definitely a little bit of that for sure.
It's the Rate Bowl. I really don't think this is necessary, but whatever. They care about the bowl games. They want to win, whatever.
It's not necessary. Are you diminishing the importance of 3D chess before the Rate Bowl? Wow.
Yes, I'm not a disciple.
On the Rate Bowl preview show, you're doing that?
I can't help myself. But I will say a couple things. It is interesting. Greg Schiano says Monday that they're already in game prep mode, and yet they don't know if their starting running back is going to play. Feels like it's kind of hard to prep for a game when you don't know who's going to play. That to me signals a bit of gamesmanship. Now, the other thing that someone brought up to me, insurance, right? Are they trying to get an insurance plan for Kyle that if he does play and get hurt, does he get saved by that? Do they do that for a running back who's probably projected in the lower rounds? I don't know. That could be a possibility. I have to think, to Pat's point, we're literally 8 days away from the game. Yeah. You got to know if you don't have a decision, you got to be leaning in one direction at this point.
It just seems like if he wants to play, it's 10 carries. But
exactly.
Knowing Greg Schiano the way I know that it'll be in the fourth quarter and be on his 34th carry in a 10-7 game trying to win. I understand. I get it. That won't happen in reality, but that's what it would be. You just platoon it, right? I don't know.
Let me look up the international bowl stats. I think Ray Rice might have had 70 carries in one game.
Ray Rice certainly did. Yes, absolutely. You're not kidding.
Okay, let's see this. Ray Rice in his last game as a Scarlet Knight carried the ball 35 times against Ball State.
What was the score? It wasn't even a close game, right?
52. Yeah.
That's great. That is so awesome. I have forgotten that. I love it. That is just perfect. That is chef's kiss.
Kyle Miller puts those shoulder pads on. He's carrying the goddamn rock. Don't you tell me.
And he ran 35 times at Michigan State, right? Which would have been probably his swan song, right? So it's really interesting. It's really interesting.
Maybe you should take this one off. But no, I mean, I'm selfish. And it's funny. It is like a developmental thing too. You would like to see. You want to see the guys behind him a little bit. It's an opportunity. That's what we got out of the Gator Bowl when they played some young guys. It was Gavin Wimsatt's, chance to really run the offense against a good opponent and in a game that they thought was a bonus game. I get this is not the same thing necessarily, but yeah, meanwhile, it looks like Kansas State star running back DJ Giddens, not DT, DJ Giddens, as declared for the NFL draft and will not play. Is that definite? If you declare for the NFL draft, it seems hard to imagine you're going to play in the Rape Bowl, but I don't know.
I went through his message, like what he posted on social media, what's been reported. I haven't seen anything that says he's not playing, but I assume that he's obviously out. And the way that even Greg Schiano answered his question about what Kansas State looks like offensively, he already kind of moved on to saying that Dylan Edwards, the running back, is one of their fastest guys. Like the running back number 3 is one of the fastest guys, which to me, if Greg Schiano is already saying, look out for that guy, it's pretty clear that Giddens isn't going to play.
Right. Yeah, we'll see. All right. Kansas State 8-4, 3 top 25 losses. Greg Schiano also praised Avery Johnson, not the Mavs coach, but the quarterback. And he said, quote, his speed brings you back to the Pat White days when he used to be here in West Virginia. That's a throwback cultural reference that the two of you might not get, but certainly anyone who's a Rutgers fan of a certain generation is like, yeah, that means trouble for a defense that has historically struggled to defend running quarterbacks. What do we know about this Kansas State offense beyond that?
Well, that's where I started with this Kansas State offense, right? Like Greg Schiano, one of his first big analysis is the way he viewed this offense is that it has a lot of speed. Like Avery Johnson is a multifaceted quarterback who's done well through the air. He can run the ball. He's fast. The Pat White comparison really made my ears perk up because I said, wow, that's something that Rutgers fans, I wrote that's like akin to the Ghost of Christmas Past, right? And holiday season here. So, yeah, they got a really good wide receiver in J.C. Brown, speed guy as well. And we talked about the running game with Edwards. He's another speedy guy. So speedy offense. And then the other big takeaway from what Kansas State does, Schiano kind of said it's like looking in the mirror from an intensity and right, his like core is like they play hard. I like to think our guys play hard, but their kids play really hard too. So he thinks it's going to be one of those really tough, physical kind of games. But there's also that speed element to Kansas State and an offense that they haven't really seen since USC, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah. So if we're going to talk about why this game matters, and I think it was a good debate on our Discord, just about whether or not bowl games still matter in the era of the playoffs. The one thing I will say about that, and in the category that it does matter, certainly to Greg Schiano, is I think he really does like the fact he's 6-2 in bowl games. Lost his first one, has won 6 of the last 7. It's something that I imagine he talks to the players about when he's recruiting. It's a stat that's out there. So adding another one to that for him, for the program, I think that's one reason why he will certainly take this game more seriously than a lot of coaches do.
Yeah, I think that's why a lot of players also decide to play in the game, right? Guys, like it wouldn't surprise me if Kyle Miller plays. That probably wouldn't be true for a lot of these Power 4 teams. I mean, to your point, Steve, and obviously it's a unique situation, but Penn State's backup quarterback who plays snaps is leaving before the college football playoff, right?
It's just amazing. Yeah.
This is not unprecedented in college sports, college football, for guys to, not buy in. Clearly, these guys buy in. Greg Schiano makes it a big deal. And Greg Schiano, I mean, he talked about working under Joe Paterno, who's one of the greatest bowl game winners of all time. It was clearly important to Paterno. I think Schiano, that kind of rubbed off on him, and it's important to him. And it goes further to prove the aura of Greg Schiano with extra rest and extra time to prepare. They have like a 70% win percentage or whatever. So that's definitely a feather in his cap, and he likes to kind of, I think it shows that he's a good coach when given time to prepare. So now the question is Kansas State on the other end. They lost 3 of their last 4 games. They got their star running back probably opting out. I do wonder how much, and listen, Chris Kleiman, the coach, is like, he's a winner. He won 3 national championships at the FCS level. He's very much a Greg Schiano guy. I'm sure they're taking it seriously. I do wonder for a team like Kansas State, who was 7-1, had a chance of winning the Big 12, and then kind of just sputtered to the end, how much they'll be up for it. But the motivational gap question was a big issue before Michigan State, and then Rutgers went out and beat the brakes off Michigan State. So who knows?
Yeah.
Bored at home? Head over to Chumba Casino and join some serious social casino fun. With hundreds of games at your fingertips, no purchase necessary. You can play anytime, anywhere. There's a special welcome bonus waiting for you when you sign up. Play for fun, play for free, and you could even redeem some great prizes. Visit ChumbaCasino.com and get ready to reel in the fun. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply.
All right. So we'll come back and do our picks in a minute. But first, I know you guys aren't expecting this. But you thought I would have forgotten our usual end of week segment here, which we did all season. Know your opponent, right? I think so. Unless did you prepare for know your opponent, Pat? Do you look like you?
I did. Of course I did.
Okay. Well, bad news because I've changed it. I've changed it to know your bowl game. I've got 3 pieces of bowl game trivia about the Rate Bowl. 3 juicy, delicious pieces of bowl game trivia. Going to test what you know about this exciting game that Rutgers will play in. Get all 3 right, and you get to go to the Rate Bowl. All right. You ready?
Let's do it.
What choice do you have? The Rate Bowl started as the Copper Bowl in 1989 and has now had 13 different names. Rutgers played in the game for 2 of those names, the Rate Bowl, obviously, and the Insight Bowl. Which one of these other names did I completely make up? A, the Weiser Lock Copper Bowl. B, the Motel 6 Cactus Bowl. C, the Cheetos Desert Classic Bowl. Or D, the Buffalo Wild Wings Bowl. Which one of those is fake?
It's the Cheez-It Desert Bowl.
The Cheetos Bowl.
Cheetos.
I made that one up? Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
D is definitely a real one, for sure. I'm fairly certain B is also a real one. So I'm between A and C. Can you read me A and C again?
The Weiser Lock Copper Bowl or the Cheetos Desert Classic Bowl.
So with A, my issue is that I know there was the Copper Bowl. I don't know if the Weiser or whatever, is that Budweiser? Is that what the kids call Budweiser these days? I'll go with Pat. I'll go with C.
It is C. You're both correct. The Cheetos Desert Classic Bowl, although it was once the Cheez-It Bowl before Cheez-It moved on and sponsored the Citrus Bowl, which is where we were hoping to go. Let's be honest. All right. Question number 2. Which future NFL quarterback for a New Jersey NFL team completed 27 of 35 passes for 394 yards and 2 touchdowns in a record-setting Rate Bowl performance that led the opposing coach to call him as accurate a guy as any I've ever seen? Was it A, Eli Manning, B, Aaron Rodgers, C, Daniel Jones, or D, Joe Willie Namath?
Wow.
So not Joe Namath, obviously. They didn't have bowl games when Joe Namath played college football.
He played for Alabama, for crying out. He was in a bowl.
But they didn't have bowl games, did they? I don't think bowl games were invented, were they?
Yes, they were. Bowl games go back to like the ancient times, 100 years here.
Fair enough.
They didn't have the rate. They didn't have the Rate Bowl.
Okay. So it's not Daniel Jones.
Joe Willie wearing the mink coat out there at the Copper Bowl in 1989. All right, yeah, okay. You're ruling out Daniel Jones.
It's not Daniel Jones. He can't hit the broadside of a barn. As much as it hurts Fooch to hear this, he just doesn't have the arm. Aaron Rodgers played at Cal, close, but I don't think the Pac-12. Who was the first one?
Eli Manning.
Eli Manning.
I'll go. B.
Yeah. I'm going with Daniel Jones. I'm going to take a shot in the dark here.
Oh, really? Wow. No, it is Aaron Rodgers. Brian, you get it correct. Congratulations. Great pick. Yes. Aaron Rodgers, Rate Bowl MVP before he went on to, take drugs in a Netflix special. Okay. A few things in between there. Final question. This is a Rutgers trivia question, too, that I know you guys are going to get. I don't know you're going to get it, but people on the Discord, on this podcast are going to get this one right immediately. Let's see if you can do it. In the 2005 Insight Bowl, Rutgers had 4 pass catchers who reached the NFL after their college careers. Brian Leonard, Ray Rice, Tyquan Underwood, and Clark Harris. So think about that. 4 players who caught passes in the Rate Bowl for Rutgers in that loss to Arizona State went on to the NFL. None of them, however, led the Scarlet Knights in receiving that day. Who did? A, Willie Foster. B, Trez Moses. C, Tim Brown. Or D, Walker Perry.
Wow.
I do know this one. I'll let Pat answer.
Yeah, I got no idea.
Guess?
Let's go.
You must have been in college at that point, right? No.
Walker Perry.
Walker Perry is the one I made up. There is no Walker Perry in the record. Yes. Who is it, Brian?
I am fairly certain it's Tim Brown.
No.
What? It's Trez Moses?
It's Trez Moses. Yes.
I thought he graduated by then. Oh, man.
He was still. That was the year he graduated. Tim Brown did not play on that team. He had not come into the program yet. Wow.
Good job.
You guys are
wow.
good. You've lost. You turn in your credit card. Neither one of
That's
you.
it.
Neither one of you.
It's over.
It's over. We're not going to cover it. It's over. Going to send Andy Mills, a photographer. That's all we're going to do.
Andy would have got that right.
Andy would. No, I don't know. That's tough. I love that one. Yeah, Trez Moses was the MVP of that team, I believe. Someone's going to have to send me that one if that is the case. But he was a great college receiver.
Good job.
Right.
Good job.
Good.
Yeah, very good questions.
I thought so. All right.
So was Tim Brown in 06 in the Texas Bowl when he had his break? Didn't he have a breakout game in the bowl game?
I believe he must have been a freshman that year. I don't know if that's a great question. Tim Brown Rutgers. Let's see, that was his freshman year, or if he was on the team and didn't play.
I'm fairly certain in
he did not
06.
catch a pass. 2006 was his freshman year. Correct. Yes.
And I think he had a huge Texas Bowl. And I'm going to look. We're killing time here on the podcast by looking this up, but I gotta prove myself. Oh, the Texas Bowl was 2 days after Christmas. I thought it was the day after Christmas.
Yeah.
Okay. Against Kansas State, Timmy Brown had 101 catches for 2 touchdowns and 4 receptions.
Yeah. 2. That's right. That was a big deal. Yep.
I was a year late. Or a year early.
You're late. Good trivia.
Good job.
All right.
Good job.
Want to make some picks?
Not
What do
really.
we got? We have to. So you guys, we stopped throwing out the standings. What are the standings now? Because I got the last one wrong.
I think you won. I think you won no matter what the results are.
I did win. Yeah, even the bowl game, even with the bowl game.
I believe so.
All right. Okay.
You have a multi-game lead.
The multi-game lead. Excellent. So I will go first anyway. It's funny. I'm looking at this, and
The line is 6.5.
6.5. Correct. There is not a lot of money on Rutgers. If you looked at the, I don't know if they're picking at the spread or not. I hope they are. Well, it's now the New York Times, so maybe they're not. But the Athletic pick to win 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 college football experts, which in itself is wacky crazy. All 9 college football experts for the Athletic picked Kansas State, which is interesting. I'm not going to, though. I'm going to pick Rutgers to cover, not win. I just think it's going to be a closer game than 6.5. High scoring game. You know, I like them to score. I just don't know if Rutgers is going to be able to stop the Wildcats enough to win. So I'm going to go Kansas State 31, Rutgers 28. Who's next?
Yeah, I'm kind of along the same lines. I'm worried about the Kansas State offense. It looks pretty versatile. Even without the running back, I still think that it's an offense that's a mismatch for Rutgers, the way that kind of USC was and the yards after the catch. Like, I see that being a big issue. I agree with you. It's going to be high scoring. Rutgers has shown that it can score. It scored 30 or more points in its last 3 games, right? That was a very impressive development of the offense. The big factor for me is like the only way that doesn't happen is if Rutgers is able to really control the clock, control the ball, grind out these long drives. You would think that it would have to be, really able to run the ball well. Maybe if Kyle Monungai gets those 35 carries, it's a different story. But I like to think that I'm trending more towards Politi. It's a high scoring game. I think it'll be. I'm going to go with Kansas State 28, Rutgers 24. Again, similar cover. Rutgers covers but doesn't win the game.
The trip to Arizona is very expensive because of the time, because of the location. Lots of Rutgers fans are spending hundreds of dollars to travel out to the desert to watch this game. And understandably, that's a big hit to the wallet. I have the solution. There's a sports book inside of Chase Field. 3 hours before kickoff, arrive at the game, take out your freshly crisp $1,000 notes, $100 notes, put them on the table and say, lady or mister or whoever's at the counter, give me Rutgers money line, baby. This is free money. This will pay for your trip and more.
I did not see that coming. I did not see this direction.
Yeah, me either.
Wow, Pat, are you stunned? As I'm like, oh no, here we go. I'm gonna have to be in the Discord, listening to people complain about Fonseca. But no,
Don't ever say Fonseca. Doesn't say nice things about Rutgers.
This is crazy. This is crazy.
Okay. Tell us why.
Rutgers will pay for your trip to the Great Bowl. They'll pay for your Christmas presents this year and next. And they'll pay for whatever else you want in the new year, baby. Hammer the Scarlet Knights. They have much more of a give-a-shit factor than Kansas State. They win bowl games under Greg Schiano. They are able to win in a shootout. They've proven that. And they are ascending as an offense. And as a defense, they have a lot of guys who are playing their last college football game. They want to prove themselves to NFL scouts and want to leave a lasting legacy in Piscataway. What better way to leave a lasting legacy in Piscataway than to repay all the Rutgers fans who spent thousands of dollars watching them, traveling the country, winning the money line bet.
Wow.
I'll go Rutgers 27, Kansas State 21.
Okay. All right. I'm going to send my wallet with you. Fuck me into it now.
If they lose.
That was like a really motivational speech right there. That was,
that's going to be.
That might get clipped.
Shannon's just going to play that in the freaking locker room. That's it. I don't have anything to say. I want you to listen to this young man. All of a sudden, Fonseca Starlinger hat in the locker room. Yeah, let's go. Money line.
A block R on my hat. To be clear, they will win. But if they don't win, I am not paying back your bets. Just to be clear.
Money line on 3. 1, 2, 3. All right. Good job. Okay. We'll see. We all pick the same thing gambling wise, but we'll see what happens. It'll be a good test. All right. What else we got? Anything?
A couple things. One, yesterday, the Board of Governors officially accepted the proposal to make Nike the official outfitter of Rutgers athletics for at least the next 5 years and potentially 10 if that 5-year option at the end is picked up. I don't know.
Whose option is it?
I don't know what's the option. I don't have a contract. I was told the contract, despite Rutgers announcing it yesterday. Kind of, red tape. Last second details have to be figured out. Once I get my hands on the contract, the Discord and everyone else will be the first to know. Now, here's the thing. Rutgers signed a deal with BSN, a third-party distributor, to get Nike to Rutgers. My understanding is Rutgers does have some sort of deal or understanding with Nike. I would have to think so, or else they wouldn't be outfitted in Nike. Currently, there's a lot of Division I schools with this deal. Cincinnati is the only Power 4 school I could find with this deal, and they signed with BSN in 2021, had Under Armour, and then in 23 transitioned to Nike and is now fully signed with Nike. So they don't even really have this setup anymore. Okay. The other schools are Charlotte, Hofstra, Wichita State, Vermont, Alaska, Fairbanks. People kept asking me if it was Anchorage or Fairbanks. It's Fairbanks. Now, here's what I would say. People are understandably saying this is small time and things of that nature. The only positive spin I could put on this is maybe Rutgers is a trendsetter, a trailblazer. Maybe this is the direction that deals go in the future, that they don't sign anymore with these major brands and they sign with third-party distributors. That is the spin that was given to me and made me kind of pause and question. Maybe it's possible, but at the current point, the way I'm interpreting it is not a great deal because Rutgers had little to no leverage, had little to no time to put this together, and this was pretty much the best thing.
And your 3-star basketball players already wearing their shoes. That couldn't have helped.
Yeah, people thought that would help Rutgers get with Nike. Why would Nike pay more when they already have what they need?
Only have 3 players we care about, and they're all wearing your shoes. Yeah, so it's hard. Yeah, exactly.
And people talk about it because if Rutgers started wearing Nike, no one would care. Rutgers athletes, the most prominent Rutgers athletes ever, wearing Nike shoes with Adidas uniforms. That's a talking point. That's what people talk about. Yeah, so I never understood that leverage thing, and clearly the results show that Rutgers had little to no leverage here.
I would be stunned if this is not a Rutgers option, and if it is not a Rutgers option, then it's just it's a terrible deal. If this is not after 5 years, get out of this contract, then we'll see you'll have some more stability in the athletic department. I think you would have to think.
I would think so as well. I would think so as well.
For Rutgers. Yeah, absolutely.
Stability of the Rutgers athletic department are 2 words that usually don't go together, so I would not bet on that. But you could certainly hope in 5 years from now.
Right. All right.
Another thing, a question on the Discord, which is a great question. We didn't even ask for questions, and we got a great question in the Discord. If you guys could get any player from the Steve Peichel era and add them to this year's roster, they have an open scholarship, who would you add?
This is a great topic. And it's funny because let's see what you got, Pat. You go first. For my initial answer, I changed when I gave it some thought just for.
Yeah. I still think you want the best overall players. I would say Ron Harper Jr. was that player. And I think you'd have to take Ron. And he gives you that inside presence. Like Ron was an underrated rebounder, right? So like he was good around the basket too. So I think that would be a big boost. And obviously just incredibly talented offensive player too to add to this.
I said Ron just for the storylines and of course for the quotes post game. But yeah, another scoring option. I guess they don't need it. The smart answer, I guess, Caleb McConnell, or would you take? I'm going to get the basketball answer from Brian here. I think in a minute, or are we just going back to Cliff? And Cliff was disappointing last year. No. What do you think?
I think there are 2 ways to go that would make sense. I think you nailed both of them. You either get a ball-stopping perimeter defender like Caleb McConnell or Mawot Mag, or you get a rim-protecting big like Cliff Omori or Miles Johnson. I guess I would lean more towards Cliff Omori because they desperately need somebody to clean up a lot of their defensive mistakes. And I think he would make more of an impact himself than Caleb McConnell would, for example. Right? Like Caleb can take one guy away. Cliff protects an entire area of the court. That's who I would go with. But I think this is a very fascinating discussion, and probably not a good sign that we're having this discussion in December.
Are we forgetting one player? Like, is there not a Geo Baker sentimental, makes big shot, ball handler, smart, steady, experienced player like 5th year Geo Baker on this team as well? Is there not some?
That's a good point, right? Like that leadership void, right? Like the old captain, the Derek Jeter role. I think that, there's certainly value in it. I think Rutgers hoped that it would get it from Martini and Jeremiah Williams. I don't know that really works when you have these superstar freshmen. I think that's a good point, Steve.
I think they already have that in Dylan Harper as far as ball handling and shot making. And
it's true. Mm-hmm.
But I think they have too many basketball needs at this point to worry about intangibles, if you ask me.
That's a good point. All right. We'll go on the Discord. If you want to join that conversation, message one of us. If you're not in the Discord, we'll send you an invite that sometimes works and sometimes doesn't.
It's in our Twitter bio, and it should work permanently. I fixed the issue.
And do us a favor, like our YouTube page, too. We've cracked 500
subscribe.
Subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
Smash that subscribe button, all that good stuff.
All right. Is that all we got? Anything else? We got the Princeton game coming on Saturday. A lot of worry about that one. Brian, tell us that Scarlet should win that game if you can.
They should win that game. They're more talented. Princeton doesn't have a great defense, so it's probably going to have to be another run and gun game. I would be concerned about 2 things. Princeton can shoot the 3, and they have maybe the best rebounder in the country in Caden Pierce, and they have a really good point guard in Xavier Lee. So if those 2 guys have a good game, that's trouble for Rutgers if Rutgers can't control the boards. And I hate to lean on the stereotype of like, oh, Princeton is fundamentally sound and they do all the right things and all the little things. I do think there is some truth in that. And they have a lot of guys coming back, a lot of continuity, and a really, really good coaching staff who will want to, much like Seton Hall, beat the State University. So I think all that will factor in.
You got to be careful with that. I wrote a column last year just with that same theme. Like I pointed out that they were in the same pod in the NCAA tournament with Alabama. And I was like, isn't it nice in this era of transfer portal in a world where like Alabama star player brought a gun to a murder scene? They have Princeton here, and the one kid wants to be Secretary of State. The other guy plays the violin. Like there's this whole like all these great, and they got the long, just destroying me. This counter op-ed about it, saying that I was diminishing the athletes on the other team at the expense of. He did bring a gun to a murder scene. I mean,
stereotypes are never good or bad. Never good.
But if they're accurate, are they stereotypes? Whoa, Pat.
It sounds like a fascinating journalism 101 debate that we could surely keep the Rutgers Rant audience locked into here.
Let's very debate. That's good. Moving on.
I'll say wrestling has a little bit of a break here, as does women's basketball, I think, right? Well, wrestling's off until they go to the Midlands. That's December 28th. That's a big tournament out in Northwestern. So that'll be a real like lineup setting kind of tournament. And then from there, everything heats up in the Big Ten. So things are about to get rolling there.
Here's the thing we don't have to debate. Rutgers has to guard the three, grab rebounds, and they have to beat Princeton. It's a Q3 game. I was wrong last week. It's a Q3 game.
It is a Q3 game. Yeah.
Yes. You can't get a Q3 loss.
Nope. On a neutral floor. Gotta have it. All right. We'll be back after the Rate Bowl. I don't know what day of the holidays you're going to drag me out of my eggnog stupor to recap the Rate Bowl. The first ever Rate Bowl recap podcast show sponsored by the Heldridge. We'll be there. Hope if everyone's going to the game, have a great trip. If you're staying at home, hey, have a Merry Christmas. Thank you for listening to us. We appreciate all the comments. We enjoy it. We have a lot of fun doing this show. We hope you do too. Hope you get everything you want for Christmas. And I know that's an NCAA tournament game you're going to unwrap in March. But for now, enjoy your break. You've earned it. Thanks for listening.
And wherever you are, hammer Rutgers Moneyline.
Thank you for listening to the Rutgers Rant. To participate in the conversation and receive live updates about the Scarlet Knights directly to your phone, sign up at NJ.com/insider.